Welcome. In this video I'm going to be changing the oil in this 2006 Honda Civic. So I have it started up right now. I'm letting it warm up a little bit before I get going. And I have these Rhino ramps here, and I have a bunch of equipment here, and I'll put a link in the description to some of this stuff, either on Amazon or Walmart or both. And if you use that link, it helps me out a little bit and doesn't cost you anything extra. So this is a really tight fit here, but it does seem to work. You can also jack the car up. I find this a little safer and easier. Then some of the things I have here is I have a Honda oil filter, and then I use this SuperTech full synthetic 5W20 oil, and this isn't like turbo or performance out or whatever, but this is similar to like a Mobil 1 oil, but it's a lot cheaper. And if you're planning on keeping your car a long time or you need lots of this, you can buy, I bought 12 quarts of this for my other car, and there was a little bit of a discount getting it that way too. So to remove the oil plug, I have a breaker bar with a 17mm socket, I have a 17mm wrench, and then I have a pair of 16-inch channel locks to remove the oil filter if I can't get it loose by hand. Then I have a Tecton torque wrench, and I made a video on this quite a while ago, and I'll use that to torque the plug down to 29 foot-pounds when I'm finished. And I have this oil pan with a spout on it. So now I'll pull this up on the ramps. Okay, so I got it up on the ramps. You want to give it a little gas and then give it brakes when you get to the top. Try not to drive over it. And then I like to put it in neutral when I'm at the top and let my foot off the brake and, hopefully settle into a spot. And then I'll put it in park. Typically I use the parking brake, but the rear brakes here are kind of binding. So on the back here, I'll put some wheel chocks. Okay, so I'll slide the oil pan under there. And I'll slide my cardboard. I use cardboard instead of a creeper because I have a ton of cardboard and it works well. Okay, so the oil drain plug is right here and the oil filter is right here. So they're kind of close to each other. Don't take a plug out somewhere else and drain the wrong thing. Okay, so I'm going to try and break this loose with my ratchet first. Oh yeah, that was pretty easy. If you do your own oil changes, you won't over torque this stuff too much. So typically I'll actually hold the pan up here kind of close and stick my hand in there and loosen it up. But that's kind of hard to do while I'm recording, so because this can get really messy really quick. So one thing I like to use on a lot of these is what's called a Fumoto valve, and I haven't bought one for this yet, and now I'm kind of regretting it. So I'll put a link in the description to the Fumoto valve, and I'll put some videos that I have. Use those on some other cars. And what it is, it's a little quarter turn valve here that allows your oil to drain, and you don't have to unscrew the plug. So you can put a tube on it and put it right in your oil pan or your drain catch container. I'm actually going to set the camera down and take this out and let it start draining. There's success. So I didn't get it splattered all around. It's kind of breezy out right now, and the wind can affect that and blow it all around. So just kind of watch where your stream's going. It's also going out that way. As it slows down, it's going to pull in this way. It's also dripping right here. The plug is in the oil pan. I just let it fall in there. This oil looks pretty clean. It really doesn't have a lot of miles on it. I don't know if this is showing up in the camera, but the wind is blowing it quite a bit. So that can get it splattered around. So at some point I have to reach my hand in there and pull the plug out. You could probably use a magnet or something to do that too. Okay, so I'm feeling around. I got the plug there. Okay, so I have the drain plug here, and it has this washer on it. It's called a crush washer, and you want to remove that, throw that away, and you want to use a new one each time. That'll make sure it's sealed, unless you use that Fumoto valve that I mentioned. So I also have this super clean floor absorbent, and they sent this to me the other day after they saw one of my other videos, and they're not sponsoring this video or anything, but if I have some oil leaks and I may have dripped some behind the oil pan, I'll use this to clean it up. And it says it's 4 times more absorbent than clay and half the weight. So I'm going to do some upcoming videos on the Super Clean Cleaner product too. So, subscribe if you want to see those. So this is just barely dribbling out now, so I'll replace the oil plug. I'll move the oil pan out of the way a little bit. Get the wrench on there and I'll tighten it a little bit. So now I'm going to tighten this to 29 foot-pounds. I'll get the torque wrench for that. Okay, so I have this set to 29 foot-pounds. Okay, there it clicks, so we're all torqued up. Now we have to tackle this. So I haven't found a good way to do this. I guess the way to win here is to just not play. So I'm going to try and position the oil pan under it. I'll grab on here and see if I can turn it by hand. And I can't quite, so I'll use the big channel locks. Okay, so I have the channel locks on there. I'm squeezing it, and I'm gonna rotate, just like so. That's probably enough. So much easier when you're not holding a camera in your hand. Okay. Still a little tight, but I got it. A gust of wind came up, so I'll hold on just a sec. Although now it's starting to drip. Okay. So I'll probably let that drain for a minute and then I'll take it off. Okay, so it stopped dripping. I'm gonna slowly take this off. It'll start dripping more, I'm sure, but trying to limit how much of a mess I make. Okay, this stopped dripping, so I'll try and get it off here. I feel like I turned that 100 times. Okay, this stopped dripping. You're supposed to put a little bit of oil on this, but there's already oil on the car, so that will oil that up. Usually I'll just touch the old one to the new one and it will coat that with a little oil. So you notice I took my gloves off. I want this to be hand tight and I don't want to slip around with those oily gloves. Okay, that's on. So we have the plug tight, we have the oil filter tight. Now I'll fill it up with oil. So next thing we need to do is pop the hood. So I'll pull this here. This pulls straight out. It doesn't like pivot up, it just comes straight out. Then we'll go up here. It's hard to see, but there's a little lever here and I'll push that over this way and lift the hood at the same time. I'll pull the hood prop here like so. There's two positions. There's one here. That's all the way up. We just need that. The oil fill is back here. Okay, so now I'll remove the drain cap and I'll put this funnel in. I got this at Walmart and it was a real long funnel, so I cut the end off to make it a little bit shorter. Made sure there were no plastic pieces that might fall in the engine. So that fits in there nicely. Okay, so I have the oil. And there's a little thing you have to tear off here. Make sure you don't get any in there. And the oil I showed you earlier was new, but I found this in the garage and I think it's good. So if I start pouring this and it looks black, I'm gonna stop and start over. Okay, so I have that balanced on there draining. There's not much in it if it falls. Okay, so you wanna keep your container so you can put your waste oil in it. And then you need to find a place to take it. Auto parts stores will take it. There's also could be local reclamation centers. Okay, so now I'll take the hood prop down. I'll close the hood, and now I'll back it off the ramps. But before I do that, I'll remove these chocks from the rear wheels. Okay, so in the car we want to reset our oil life gauge. So I'll hit cell reset here. And I'm at oil life is 100%. So this hasn't been driven enough in the past 6 months to actually even hurt the oil, but I do this every 6 months. So you want to hold this down for about 10 seconds. It's going to start flashing, then I'll hold it down for another 5 seconds. And there we go, it's reset. It's kind of hard to see here because it reset to the same thing it already was. Now I can turn off the car. Okay, so I got a little bit of oil on the ground here. I'll use the floor absorbent here and I'll sprinkle some on. And I'll use a little brush to brush that around. I'll clean it up a little later. The oil I'm going to put in an empty container to take it to recycling. And then I'll clean up the rest of my gear. So that's all for this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.